All right, let's just dive right in. The biggest discoveries in our history, they never came from just accepting things as they are. They always started with someone asking, wait a minute, what if the rules are wrong? And today, that's exactly what we're doing. We're going to question the very code of reality itself, from our own DNA all the way out to the fabric of the entire cosmos.
So, let's kick things off with the biggest question of all. What if everything you experience, your thoughts, this world, the laws of physics, what if it's all built on a fundamental source code, a kind of cosmic programming that we're only now finally starting to learn how to read? And really, that one question, it's the key that's going to unlock everything we're about to get into.
So our first stop isn't some distant galaxy, it's actually inner space. We're going right into our own biology, to the weird and fascinating science of epigenetics. It asks a pretty startling question. Can the experiences of your grandparents, their traumas, their fears, be physically passed down to you? Okay, so what exactly is epigenetics? Let's break it down. It doesn't actually change your DNA, right? Your DNA is like the hardware in a computer. It is what it is. Epigenetics, though, that's the software. It's the set of instructions that tells your genes which programs to run and when. It can flip certain genes on or turn others off, completely changing how your body operates without ever rewriting the basic code.
And look, this isn't just some fringe theory. The evidence is, well, it's pretty wild. For example, studies on the children of Holocaust survivors found they had different stress hormone levels, hardwired for a world of trauma they never experienced. In labs, they've shown that anxious mice have anxious pups even if those pups are raised by totally calm parents. And decades after a terrible famine in the Netherlands called the Dutch hunger winter, the children of survivors had much higher rates of metabolic diseases. It's like a memory of hardship gets written into our biology, an echo that rings through the generations.
So this, of course, leads to the next mind-bending question. If a fear response can be passed down, what's next? What about something more complex? Could you inherit a memory? Could some piece of knowledge from an ancestor actually be tucked away inside your DNA?
All right, so here's where the science, at least for now, draws a pretty clear line. There's this one incredible study where mice were taught to fear a specific smell, and their children and even their grandchildren were born with that same fear. So yeah, it seems we can inherit biases, sensitivities, these kinds of instinctual responses. But actual conscious memories, like names, faces, facts, the evidence so far says no. It seems we inherit the echo of an experience, not the experience itself.
Okay, so our biology is way stranger than we thought. Got it. But what happens when we zoom out from our genes to the code for reality itself? Well, we end up in the absolutely bizarre world of quantum mechanics, where the fundamental rules of how everything works get really, really weird.
In our everyday world, a coffee cup is here or it's there. It's not in both places at once. But down at the quantum level, a particle can be in many places at once. It's called superposition. In our world, two things are separate, but tiny particles can be entangled, so deeply linked that what happens to one instantly, and I mean instantly, affects the other even if they're on opposite sides of the universe. Einstein himself called it spooky action at a distance. It's a world where particles can literally tunnel right through solid walls. It just breaks all the rules we think we know.
But here's where it gets truly mind-blowing. These super modern, cutting-edge scientific ideas, they have these incredible echoes in ancient philosophy. Take entanglement, that spooky connection. Well, the Hindu concept of Advaita literally means not two, the idea that at the deepest level, all things are one single inseparable reality. Or what about the observer effect, where simply looking at a particle changes its state? That sounds a lot like Purusha and Prakriti, the ancient idea that consciousness, the observer, is essential to bring potential into actual existence. It's like these ancient thinkers were grappling with the exact same weirdness we are today, just using a different language.
All right, this brings us to the biggest mystery of them all. If matter is so strange, then what about the thing that's perceiving the matter? What exactly is consciousness? And what if it doesn't come from inside our heads at all?
Let me throw a powerful metaphor at you. What if the brain doesn't create consciousness any more than a radio creates the music it plays? Think about it. In this metaphor, consciousness is like a broadcast signal, a radio wave that's everywhere all at once. Our body and our brain, they're just the receiver, tuning into that signal. The receiver can be damaged or it can be tuned really well, but it never, ever creates the broadcast. The signal exists independently. And this isn't some new age idea that just popped up. Not at all. This has incredibly deep roots. There's this powerful line from the Bhagavad Gita,
one of the most sacred texts in Hinduism, where Krishna explains that the soul, or consciousness, is eternal. It was never born and it will never die. When the body ceases, it just keeps going.
This isn't just a one-off line. This idea is a central thread running through so much of Hindu thought. The ancient Upanishads teach that your individual self, your Atman, is actually identical to the universal consciousness, Brahman. The school of Advaita Vedanta takes it even further, saying consciousness is the only fundamental reality. In these systems, we aren't little generators of awareness. We're more like instruments through which universal awareness gets to experience the world.
So after all of that, where do we land? Well, we land right on the edge of what we know, staring out at some of the deepest, most profound questions imaginable. Questions that really, truly challenge everything we think is a given.
The sources we looked at bring up a tough one, a very human question. Is it possible that some of these truly radical ideas get shut down? Not because of some big conspiracy, but just because they threatened established careers, funding, entire worldviews. I mean, if you think about it, history is littered with brilliant ideas that were laughed at for decades before they became common knowledge. Okay, now let's go from the human to the cosmic. Our best physics tells us that a whopping 68% of the known universe is made of something we call dark energy. We have no idea what it is, just that it's pushing everything apart. So the sources ask this wild question: could this mysterious, all-pervading energy be what ancient traditions called chi or prana, a kind of universal life force? Could it be the physical expression of a cosmic consciousness? And for the final question, I mean, this one is a total reality bender. Just hang on for a second. What if we have gravity completely wrong? What if it isn't a fundamental force pulling us down? What if it's something way stranger, like the shadow cast by consciousness itself as it interacts with the universe? A symptom of awareness. Whoa! In the end, wrestling with these ideas isn't really about finding one neat, final answer that ties everything up with a bow. I think the real point of the journey is realizing that the greatest questions, the most profound insights, they don't end the conversation. They crack it wide open. They begin it.